Hello, this is David Parrish with World Missions and Evangelism, and I'm glad that you've joined me on this video blog today because we're continuing to talk about the strategy that WME, World Missions and Evangelism, has that we are implementing in Latin America and also participating in other areas of the world. You know, WME has missionaries and mission projects literally all over the world, in Europe, in Australia, in Africa, in Asia, and of course in Central and South America, where our primary church planting movement, disciple making movement project is. And the strategy that we are pursuing, somebody might ask, do you have a strategy, or are you just doing everything in the world in missions? And the answer is no. We're doing many different things. We're impacting children's ministry, orphan care, church planting, Bible colleges, Bible training centers, all kinds of ministries of missionaries and with indigenous workers. But there is a discernible strategy. And we call that strategy the Instar strategy, I-N-S-T-A-R. And on these video blogs for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been taking it one letter at a time and explaining what the strategy is. Instar is a word in Spanish that means to urge or to be urgent. And we believe it's urgent that we complete the Great Commission. And we're focused, our primary focus, not our only focus, but our primary focus for implementing this strategy at this time is in Latin America. And so we call that the Instar project. But Instar is a big picture of what our strategy as an organization is. What we're really saying is this: if a mission agency or an organization or a church said, what strategy could we adopt? How could we go about advancing the gospel? How can we intentionally help to facilitate church planting or disciple making movements in specific places? Then I believe this Instar strategy is a way forward for you. Now, in the previous 2 videos, I've told you what the I and the N stands for. The I stands for intercession. And the first thing we have to do is cultivate intercession for the people group or the nation or the region that we're a part of. And the I also stands for identification. During those early stages of the strategy, we're praying, we're asking for help, we're praying, and we're trying to identify what are the people groups, what are the regions, what are the geographic locations that we need to focus on to get started. And that continues. We continually are interceding and are continuing to identify the new areas of focus. So identification and intercession. The N stands for networking. And last week on the video blog, I talked a great deal about networking and how we're working through relationships with leaders that are already there, because a foothold has already been gained on the mission field by years and years of missions work. But the job is not done. But what we want to do is not ignore what has already been done, and those that are already there, we want to fellowship and network with them. And that brings us to the third letter, S, and I'm going to talk about that today. S stands for serving. It stands for serving. And what I mean by that is this. It's a twofold thing. First of all, we're serving those that we are networking with. What WME wants to do is to be able to serve. We want to be able to be a help to our network partners, to those that we're networking with. If you go to our website, worldmissionsevangelism.com. If you go to worldmissionsevangelism.com and click on projects, you'll see a whole list of projects that are happening all over the world. You'll see, if you click on missionaries, a menu will drop down and you'll see missionaries all over the world. If you click on the world map at our website, it'll show you where projects and missionaries are located all over the world. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to, we've already networked with those folks, and what we want to do now is serve them. We want to be a servant to those missionaries and those projects. And what do you mean by serving? Well, serving means putting our shoulder to the wheel to help them do what they're trying to do. We want to minister to them through serving. Now, why do we do this? What is the I, N, and S all about? Because you say, David, up until now, you haven't said a thing about church planting movements or training or anything. We're going to get to that because that's the next part of our strategy. But I don't want to overlook the intercession and identification, the networking and the serving. We're serving those that we're networking with. By the way, we're also serving people that we're identifying with. We're serving those communities. We've been drilling wells in the past. We bring educational support. We've helped with Christian schools. We've helped with community schools. We've helped with medical projects. We're helping and serving communities, and we're helping and serving the missionaries and the projects that we're networking with in these areas. Why is that? Because it really has to do with our overall strategy. 2 or 3 years ago, I read a book, and I've mentioned this before at times in my written blog, and I may have even mentioned it on my video blog before. But this book that was written by a missiologist named Tom Stephan, called The Facilitator Era. I really highly recommend this book. It's an unusual book. It's really different in the way it's designed. But I recommend the book, The Facilitator Era, for people that want to know what kind of strategy should missionaries and mission agencies have in our day. And I believe that we need a facilitator type strategy. That is to say, we're not there to be the leaders. We're not there. We don't go to the mission field in order to say, all right, now WME is here, or David Parrish is here, or missionary XYZ is here, and we're here to take over. We're here to take charge. That is the wrong spirit to go forward in things. What we want to do is help facilitate. We want to be a help to those things that are multiplying the kingdom of God. We want to be a ministry of helps. We want to be a facilitator. We want to help them do what they're trying to do, as long as it's in line with the Word of God and the overall mission. You see, in recent years, there have been a lot of talk and a lot of teaching on the subject of leadership. And leadership is very important. In fact, you'll find out when we get to the T that we're training leaders. And we're trying to facilitate leadership. And leadership is very important. And I heard a great teacher of leadership say, it all rises or falls on leadership. Well, I don't know if that's true, but leadership is definitely important. And leadership involves influence. And obviously, we're wanting to increase influence. And we're wanting to help others increase their influence and leadership in getting the gospel forward. That's all true. But I want to say that I think sometimes too much has been said about leadership and too little has been said about servanthood. We've heard an awful lot about leadership. What kind of leader? What kind of example? What kind of leader? How are you going to influence others? How are you going to get people to follow you? And there's a place for that. But the truth is, I don't believe that is what everything rises and falls on. I think it may be that certainly everything rises and falls on Jesus and on obeying Him. And Jesus said, I came as one who was a servant to you. He washed the disciples' feet. Jesus didn't come and implement a leadership strategy. In fact, when people tried to put him in that mold, he would go away into the wilderness. He said, I'm among you as one that serves. And we've said so much about leadership, and it's good. There's good things about leadership, but we need a servanthood revival. We need a servanthood revival. Because we want to be able to help and work with those that we're networking with. And we don't want to walk in and say, hey, will you be my friend? Oh, really? We're going to network together. Now you do everything I say. Absolutely not. Number one, that's not going to work. People are going to resist you if you go in that way. But the truth of the matter is, we cannot fulfill our mission alone. We have to have network partners to fulfill the mission God has given us to do. But we can't walk in and say, now we're in charge, because that's just not what God has sent us to do. God has sent us to serve. God has not sent us to take over. And I think that's almost a spiritual thing that we need to adopt as a part of our strategy. And so we're trying to be facilitators of others. We're trying to help others accomplish their calling. And then at the same time, we're wanting to influence others as well. And we're wanting to give training in what it means to be a church planter and what it means to be a disciple maker. And we'll talk more about that. But the truth about it is, we haven't earned the right to train others until we've served them. Until we've had a servant's heart. Until we've prayed for them. Until we've been intercessors. Until we have networked with them and taken the time to listen and not just talk. And until we have served them and served them in the way that they feel served. Serve them on the mission where they need service. Until we've done those things, until we have I-N-F-L-E-D, S. Until we've interceded and identified, networked, and served those we've networked with, we haven't earned the right to teach them yet. There's no reason they should listen to us. And so we need to have the same spirit that Jesus had. Though he was Lord of all, and he was the leader. He not only was the leader, he is Lord. But he knelt down on his knees and he took a basin of water and he washed the feet of those that really, he was their Lord, but he served them. And he said, I want you to do the same thing. Well, that's part of our strategy. So, well, how does WME do that? And we do that in many ways. We do that through serving missionaries, through serving their practical needs, through serving projects, through assisting in practical outreach to practical needs among our network partners and the needy people that we're working among. That's the S of the Instar strategy. Next week, we'll talk about the T. God bless you.